Howdy, and welcome to episode 123 of In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. In this episode, Jason tells us why he's a bad prepper, and then I beat him senseless with a label maker. We're your hosts, Aaron
and Jason.
And you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. Quick announcement today. There are 8 episodes left in Season 4 of ITRH. That means the season finale will be April 27th, 2015. We're not going away. I'll repeat that again. We're not going away. In the Rabbit Hole will return for Season 5, August 3rd, 2015. Here's how this came about. We're still receiving messages from people that thought the show just completely stopped. And we're also receiving messages from people that are just now realizing that Season 4 had started up again. So for the rest of this season, we'll be doing a countdown, and we'll be reminding people of when the next season starts. Here it is again. Season 5 starts August 3rd, 2015. And here's a way for you to stay in touch with us during the summer break and get alerts of when Season 5 starts and any other shenanigans we get up to during the summer break. 1, you can follow us on Twitter. The link will be in today's show notes. 2, follow us on Facebook. Much better, much more active on Facebook. 3rd, and best way, become part of the roving horde. This really is the absolute best way to stay in touch with us, and we send out all kinds of free, cool stuff all the time on it. We don't send out tons of emails. It's all good stuff. For example, everyone on the list just got a free copy of the first ITRH eBook titled Owning Your Survival, 9 Ways of Surviving Survival and Preparedness. Again, it's completely free to the roving horde, and they all get a special link giving them forever access to updates to the book. That's because this is going to be a living book for a while. How cool of a project is that, right? This is just our way of saying thanks for being part of the roving horde, which is free to belong to anyway. And, well, it's more free stuff on top of the free show. Now, admittedly, we've been bad about making ITRH a self-sustaining entity. It's always been a very expensive hobby for us, but we do get a ton of people asking to sell something so they can help support the show and keep it around. So to everyone that is not part of the roving horde, the ebook will go up for sale in the next 2 months for probably around $4 or something. Here's what we're going to do for everyone, because some people may have not even realized that there was a free ebook that we were about to give out. We're going to give everyone that listens to this episode in the next week a chance to get the free ebook. So you'll get the ebook, stay up to date about the show, be reminded of when we're coming back. Plus, you'll find out about the cool video project we've been working on. So go to, let's see, we'll make it something easy here. intherabbithole.com/ebook. Again, we'll leave this link up for a week. That's intherabbithole.com/ebook. And you can get your copy of Owning Your Survival completely free. And, of course, stay in touch with us. One more quick announcement. This episode was originally 2.5 hours long, so we're going to break it into 2 parts. If you hear us talking about stuff and it seems like we never get back to that topic that we were going to talk about, that's why. The second half will be out February 2nd, and that will be episode 124. That's it for the announcements, so let's dive into the meat of the show. We're going to find out why Jason says he's a bad prepper. It's something many of us have suffered from at some point in our preparedness lives, and a lot of you may even be suffering from it right now. Plus, we're going to discuss ways to lock down your preps and get through this. So let's get into it. We are geeking out today on survival gear and apparently acoustic stuff, and Jason is making fun of my anal retentiveness, as always. But as you learned last night, after you got new sights on your Glocks and your Glock cleaned for you, you dirty, dirty, dirty hoe.
Dude, we've been friends for how long?
21 years?
Yeah, I know when and what to do to manipulate you to get the positive outcome.
Yeah. Aaron, will you change these sights? My God, this gun is disgusting. I'm going to clean it for you. You know what? While I'm in here, let me do a trigger job for you, too. You know what? Bite me. I knew what I was getting myself into, but I do enjoy... I take pride in being anal retentive. So
you like a clean gun.
I obsessively like a clean gun. I do not like dirty guns. I like it very clean. And we are also joined today, if there is barking or if I suddenly start freaking out about something, we are joined by my parents' rather large Australian Shepherd.
Jesus. He's huge. He's the size of a freaking Labrador Retriever.
I think he may actually be bigger than a Labrador.
You know what? I think so.
He is a chunk.
Oh my God.
So we're babysitting him, and he is, aside from being a hyperactive breed to begin with,
needy.
He's very needy. He's about 3 years old and still gets excited enough when he says hello to you to pee on himself.
At least he gets excited. At least somebody's excited.
Exactly. At least somebody's excited to see us. Yeah. So anyway, but if you hear any random noises or whatever, one of the things the dog likes to do is jump up on you or join you in your chair or join you on your own head.
Yeah. Someone babied him a little too much as a puppy, and he still thinks he's 10 pounds.
I think that would be the entire family.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and occasionally he thinks he's a parrot and tries to get on my shoulder. So in the middle of an episode, that's awkward. Anyway, so without further ado, what are we going to talk about today, Jason? Today, we are going to talk about a revelation of preparedness you have had.
Yes. We're definitely going to get to that because that's kind of important to me.
I think
it was like an oh my God moment. Oh my God, prepper moment.
Yeah.
That I suck as a prepper. That's what it all boils down to.
And I think we'll also get in, that'll lead us into some gear reviews, and we can get into, and in talking about yours, we can talk about how anal retentive I am and mine, since I actually do have an inventory of mine and spreadsheets and everything. I like things very neat and organized.
Hey, dude, believe me, I deeply do appreciate it because I look to you, I'm like, you know what, I'm a little too shooting off the hip. Hey, Aaron, how'd you do that thing? Yeah.
You already made a special template for the spreadsheets, didn't you? Can
I have a copy of that? Thanks, man.
I actually have been working on it so that I could just send you a copy. I'm that bad.
I really do want to model my preps, honest to God, after you.
Well, thank you, sir. That's nice of you to say.
I have to give you the prop on this. You are so well organized that you know exactly what you have, where it is, so on and so forth. I need help, man, because otherwise I'm going to pull out what little hair I have left. Well, actually, I'll just pull out my chin hair. That's all that's left.
All right. Well, but I think that leads us into it. What have you discovered besides the overarching thing recently? And I think a lot of people are going to identify with what you've got going on here.
Okay. I'm one of those preppers that, here's a basic checklist. Oh, I need some of this stuff. Oh, I need some of that stuff. So you go around and you'll get a little bit of this and you get a little bit of that. And you'll put that stuff over here, and then you'll put that stuff over there, and then you'll get some more stuff and be like, where'd I put that other stuff? But, oh yeah, well, I'll just put it over here too for the time being. So anyways, all of my preps are kind of disorganized or kind of spread out a little bit, right? They're not like all in one place where they should be. It's kind of, okay, well, I got some over here in this box and some over here in this box, or I got some stuff over here in this bag, and I got some stuff over here in this bag. And in between like going hunting and going camping or this or that, you're like, oh, I got some gear for that. Oh, I got this and I got this. Oh, I'll get that stuff. So I'm always pulling different pieces together and then kind of just throwing them back. So what it's caused is I have no organization whatsoever. It's just kind of like a big giant pile of prepper shit. Right? That's the way I can describe it. And being unorganized like that, the consequence, which I just found out, because of course, I'm majority of most preppers. I'm like, oh, I can handle this, and blah 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 blah. No, I can handle that. Yeah, right, okay. Then comes baby. All right, gentlemen, listeners, I'm a fairly big dude, so I mean, I come across as like this. Oh, I can take care of everything. Yeah, no, dude. When you have your first child, all hell breaks loose. Case in point, number one, batteries. Okay, I've got batteries out the yin, right? I've got that covered. Checked that off like 2 years ago. Oh, I got this, I got that. I'm cool. I got at least 3 or 4 months worth of stuff. Yeah, there's such thing as a baby swing that requires C and D batteries.
And how fast are you going through those batteries?
Yeah, found out real quick that an old alkaline battery doesn't have as much power as it used to have. And let's just say I'm going through an entire package a week.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 3 or 4 days. So all of a sudden I go from, I got that covered. I've got that, 3-month supply of this, 3-month supply of that, to, damn, I'm out. Or, I've only got one package left.
And I'm guessing what in turn has happened to you is you're in a rush. All of a sudden, batteries are out. Baby needs swing to keep going.
You got it.
Daddy's got to make swing better again.
Got it.
You grab it. You don't even think about it. And all of a sudden, where'd all my batteries go?
Bingo. That's got to happen to everybody out there. Come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you have got your stuff organized like you do,
mm-hmm.
and you're constantly going back and you're checking your stuff, you're going to run out.
Yeah.
You're going to use up your stuff. And all of a sudden that checklist that you did 2 years ago and be like, I got this covered, I got that covered. All of a sudden you don't.
Yeah.
When you need it the most. Her swing went out just the other day. And I was like, I got that. All of a sudden I walk in there and go check the batteries, and guess what? I don't have any batteries left for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, man, where'd all that go?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my wife digs into them for whatever she needs. I grab them here and there, and I forget that I grabbed them. And we go to the store, and of course I completely forgot about it. So I didn't put it on the list to get restock. So I mean, the whole point of me bringing up this whole conversation is, man, you've got to have your preps, right? And getting to that point. But like when you've been prepping for a while and you think, you've already checked it off the list, you don't bother to think about, I need to go back in and reevaluate all my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, and we might think about it, be like, I need to go look at my, and check all my stuff and check the expiration dates and so on and so forth. Man, you just don't do it in everyday life. You've checked it off, you've put it in the back of your mind, and you really, I can truly say you really need to be organized and have everything kind of checked off. In Glenn Tate's book, he talks about having a list and expiration dates and rotations and so on and so forth. Man, I'm a shitty prepper.
I don't know that. I wouldn't say that you're a shitty prepper. I would just say it's just a different. There are people in life that are very organized,
Mm-hmm.
and there are people that are not very well organized. Some people do really seem to do well with not being organized. I think those people tend to think they do better than they do without being organized.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, naturally, terribly disorganized person. Terrible ADD. But I overcompensate for it to the point of becoming anal retentive. Just because I do know as soon as I let anything get out of control, it just starts unraveling and I wind up with situations like what you've got.
A pile of prepper shit.
A pile of prepper shit. No, the ways I've combated doing that are, for one thing, I don't put any of my prepper shit in the garage. Now, this is a little different. I'm a single guy. Well, not really single. I mean, I've got Jen, but Jen doesn't live here. Mm-hmm. So I'm basically a bachelor in a 3-bedroom house.
Gotcha.
I've got plenty of space.
Right.
And I'm in every part of my house every day because, I mean, for the most part, I work out of my house.
Right.
So to do anything, for example, if I go to the kitchen, all my kitchen stuff, batteries, medical supplies, they're on attractive, those kind of chrome wire racks.
Yeah, I've seen it.
So as soon as you walk through my kitchen, you can see exactly what I've got. Right. I have some other stuff squirreled away in other places, of course. But in general, and I've done that, and there's people like, oh, well, OPSEC, da, da, da. Well, for one thing, I don't have anyone over to my house that I don't trust or wouldn't want to hang out with after the zombie apocalypse or the fall of the United States or attack of the giant sheepdog or whatever.
Whatever scenario you like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in that instance, I'm always looking at it. And I can see if I used one of my water tanks or whatever, that water, I now know. It's like I walk through and that problem is staring me in the face. That hole is staring me in the face.
Right.
I can look and I know exactly at a glance, what do I have in the way of canned goods? What do I have in the way of freeze-dried goods and stuff like that? For some people that may not work because they do have people in and out of their homes or whatever that they don't necessarily want to know what they've got. For me, I don't generally have house guests over that aren't part of my prepper team.
Right.
Say. So for me, that works really well, just having it out in the open where I can see it. Same thing with ammunition. Same thing. All guns are locked up and locked away that I'm not using at that moment or carrying at that moment. But other than that, ammo's out in the open for the most part. Plus, I have spreadsheets of my ammo that I like to look at occasionally, like Scrooge McDuck counting gold coins or something. I'm like, ammo.
Case in point, man. I was like, hey, man, how are you doing on ammo? Oh, I'm doing good. And then all of a sudden I get this long stream of text messages. And it's like every caliber, which bullet, what grain, this, that, where'd you buy it
brand,
from?
type, grain, how many, and would you like that in quantity or would you like that in pounds?
Yes. I've got prepper envy. It's very thorough, sir, and I'll have to give you, a compliment on that. You are very thorough, sir.
So that's it. And as far as like expiration dates, I actually set those in my calendar. And I just set up a calendar.
I'm so guilty. I feel inadequate, sir.
When I buy things, I immediately go and set up a calendar reminder because I know how long it's going to take. Gotcha. And the other thing I try to do is I try not to piecemeal, like buy little bits and pieces of things that are going to expire at a time. Like say, if I didn't have very much money to throw at a battery solution,
right?
Other than just saying, okay, let me just get enough batteries just to fix the situation right now that I feel good about. If I was actually going to stockpile, I personally wouldn't like buy 4 batteries at a time. To me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. The other part of that is it's more expensive to do it that way rather than just save the money and then buy it all in bulk.
Gotcha.
There is some value in kind of stretching things out so then all these things have different expiration dates, but then it becomes very complicated to keep up with. So I typically like batteries, I buy them in bulk. The other thing I've done specifically, like, because I do run into the issue, like what you were talking about with C and D with your daughter, I run into that with double A's. Because it's like everything in my house takes a double A. The wireless keyboard to my iMac and the mouse to my iMac takes double A batteries. A bunch of the remote controls for stuff around the house take double A battery. I mean, most things take double A battery.
Gotcha.
And I found the same thing. And I used to buy. I also for the office itself, because I have so many computers there. It's something like 20 or 30 computers that are all using wireless keyboards and mice that were all chewing through double A batteries. So I started buying cases of double A battery. Problem I found, and I think I mentioned this in the follow-up episode after we did with James Price, where we were talking about just gear and bug out bags and stuff like that, was I did find that one of the huge drawbacks with alkaline batteries is they are very temperature sensitive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all batteries are really temperature sensitive. One, heat is a huge enemy to batteries. And I had a lot, like there was a case of batteries that just the whole case had to be thrown away because it was in a hot warehouse. And
I know this firsthand from Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
My cell phone.
Oh, really?
I could charge it all night long and I might have 5 minutes worth of use when we got over like 10,000 feet.
Oh, well, that's more of a cold issue.
Yeah, it was cold. Yeah,
well, and that is the opposite. Yeah, they are very temperature sensitive. So they're both hot and cold. Lithium batteries are less susceptible to that. Now we could get into a whole super geeky thing about batteries that I think would be beyond the scope of today's show.
So I'll ask you this. Okay, since you're actually much more knowledgeable than I am on this, if I'm going to restock, okay, versus going back and buying a couple pallets of alkalines that are just going to go bad anyways because I'm storing them in the garage, what should I be getting as far as a recharging station, and what kind of batteries should I be using to recharge?
The Sanyo in-loop batteries.
Okay.
And they do make AAA, AA, C, and D rechargeable.
Okay.
The C and Ds, I've never used them. And I don't think they're true C and Ds. I think they're actually AA. If I remember correctly, I don't have anything that takes C and Ds.
Gotcha.
So if I remember correctly, it's actually AA batteries in a case that then
replaces the
it fits or whatever. But I don't think you get the same what is it, like milliamp hours. You get the same voltage and everything out of it, but you're not getting the same milliamp hours. And it's super geeky. I mean, that's just basic how much energy can be stored in the battery.
Got it.
So I do think you have a little bit of a loss there, but you have the gain that it is rechargeable. And most of those batteries, if I'm remembering correctly, can be recharged about 500 times. I may be thinking of the wrong battery, but you're still, no matter what, you're still talking about, even those Sanyos can be recharged a couple hundred times at the minimum.
Okay, so I need to make mental note, write that down, and get.
Yeah, that's why turning around in the seat, if you're the voice changer, I have this big stack.
Yeah.
In these plastic cases of all these AA batteries, and that way I have actually too many.
Mr. Prepper has too many. Okay,
I do. I went overboard with these. I have, let's see, this is a pack of 12 Sanyo in loop. I have 12 here. That's 24.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually gotten rid of most things that take AA. So I don't need this many.
Gotcha.
But these don't really need to be recharged if I'm not using them, but every 6 months they need to be topped off.
Got it.
But I do find this, I have so many and I'm never without batteries and I never have to go. I do have a small store. I shouldn't say small. It's probably about 2 packs of alkaline batteries that are 48. So 48 AA alkaline batteries off the top of my head.
Okay.
I try to use those on a somewhat scheduled basis, like every 3 months. Instead of using these rechargeable batteries, I'll use those. That way I chew through them and then have a reason to go buy more.
Now, do you track this as well? You have a spreadsheet?
That I do not track. Okay. That I just keep in my head.
Okay. Now, what about your funky batteries? You got to that. I know they're rechargeable, but
they're rechargeable. The 18650s that I use for my lights,
mm-hmm.
those it's going to be years before those have to be replaced, and I have 6 of them.
Got it.
I have 2 flashlights that run off those batteries, and then I have a vaporizer because I'm
mm-hmm.
trying to quit smoking. And so the vaporizer uses an 18650, which, as a total side note, can't use the exact same battery for the 2 because there are actually 3 different kinds of 18650s. And then we're going to start getting down a whole very anal retentive road of types of lithium 18650s. There are actually 3 different types, and one is good for vaporizers, one is good for flashlights. The 2 are not necessarily compatible.
See, listeners, this is why I hang out with this guy, because whenever I have a geeky question, I just go, "Hey, man, what about blah 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 blah?" And then he just floods me with all of this data.
I'm just like, God, would you shut the hell up? I just wanted a short, simple answer. Do I want A or B? And I'm like, wow, there's 46 colors of A and B. It comes in 33 flavors.
I love the mental masturbation, bro. Love it, love it, love it.
I lots of mental masturbation. I'm going to go blind from all the mental masturbation or hairy palms or something. So, does mental masturbation give you hairy palms? That would be weird. I don't know. It's a ponderous question there. So, anyway, moving on from what was turning into a very weird discussion. So the 18650s, I have those. Those all can be charged 500 times each, give or take. They're lithium batteries, so they have a much wider operating temperature.
Gotcha.
So they can fare heat pretty well. They can fare cold extremely well. Both of which much better than alkalines. I don't know that I would necessarily store them. I mean, all batteries, the biggest enemy to all batteries, aside from water, is heat. So where were we? But the other thing that you ran into, trying to segue as fast as I can, the other thing that you ran into was food. You actually found that you were, as we were joking around before, they're kind of like little rats. I mean, in general, it's like little rats that just gnaw away at your prep.
And that's kind of the coming back to the point of why we needed to talk about that. Is okay, periodically we go camping, we go hunting, we're going in there and we're grabbing some of our freeze-dried stuff here and there, and you're like, oh, all right, so I need to restock that later, and then you forget about it. Well, here it is. I'm starting to kind of reorganize my stuff, and I checked off about a year ago. Hey, all right, I've got 3 months worth of food, freeze-dried food. I'm covered at least for that, right? So I go back in there and I look, and I had completely forgotten that I'd taken this or taken that or taken this out of there. And I forgot to replenish it. Well, I started looking at it and counting, and all of a sudden, I only have less than a month.
Mm.
And that's partially because I had prepped for 3 months before because I was single and wasn't compensating for an additional mouth. And then now I have 2 additional mouths in the house. So I was literally down to like 3 weeks worth of food. And I was like, oh my God, I let that slip. How could I let that slip?
Yeah. But I think that's easy to do. And you make a great point. You're headed out the door to go camping. Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I got a ton of freeze-dried food. And I think that's it. Thinking of it as a crutch, like treating it like it's a grocery store.
Mhm.
Like, oh, I'll just grab it off my shelf and run. I do that too, but the way I combat it is I figure out before, again, Mr. Anal Retentive, I make lists before I go camping,
Mhm.
and then I check things on my gear off that list into my pile of camping gear that I'm going to take. If I'm going to use anything that, like food or anything like that on the trip, once I know what I'm going to take, I'll go in and order more before I even leave.
See, that's the way to go.
And that way, it's on its way before I've even used it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing to that is I try to be realistic with the goals I set and things like that for the most part. We all set big goofy ass goals sometimes that are completely ridiculous. Farm is often a great example of that.
Oh my God, case in point.
But as far as where I'm going with this is, I don't try to put away or plan to put away my gear as soon as I get home, the night I get home. Because what you've usually been driving, traveling, you're tired. You're like, you're just going to set it to the side. You're just going to throw it back on there. What I do though is I set aside time the next day that I'm going to clean, inspect, and put away all of my gear.
That is the difference between me and you, and why you have an organized prepper rack and I have a pile of prepper shit. That is exactly case in point.
I also have I've acquired so much crap over the years that, I think I would lose Jen under a pile of junk if I didn't keep things, because I have just so much. Now I've been trying to sell some stuff on Gunbroker and eBay and things like that to try to divest myself of things that I'm not using, never going to use, whatever.
Right.
Except for those like weird extra stoves I bought years ago that I've never even taken out of the packaging. What was it? The BioLite stove, which you still give me a hard time about. You're like, how do you, because usually I'm really big on it. Like as soon as I get something, I play with it.
And dude, it's really cool stuff.
It is a really cool stove, but it's literally one of those things. It came out. I was excited about it. We got busy and weren't going camping. I wasn't really writing gear reviews anymore at the time. So it came in, and I had been waiting a long time for it. It was on pre-order for a long time. So when it came in, it was very anticlimactic. It was kind of like, oh yeah, I forgot I ordered that. And it showed up, and I was, okay, so I set it on the shelf in the studio, stuff to look at, and it just sat there. And I've never we haven't been camping now in a while.
Yeah.
So I haven't gotten to play with it. And then I think the last time we actually went camping was a Project Appleseed thing.
And we had the big stoves.
And the other thing too was like all of Texas was in a huge drought, so you couldn't do.
Right.
So that was the other thing.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of one of those things. I'm at home, I'm hanging out on my back porch. I don't really, drinking a glass of whiskey, let's be honest. And not thinking, oh, I should get that stove out and see if I can charge my phone with it. It's not a piece of gear I think I would necessarily depend on.
Right.
Or think about or really factor in and just say, well, maybe, because I have so many other things that do what that thing already does anyway.
It's always good to have a backup plan.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I have too many stove backup plans.
All right. You can unload a couple of those to me, because I only have 2, 3.
It's all share and share alike anyway.
True. Shit, as a fan, you're the first one saying I'm going anyways. So
it's not like it's a real concern that I don't have a stove. So, because we all know Aaron's got 4.
Yep. Case in point, that brings it. That's a good segue into communications.
That is something that we are sorely lacking on. That we both really, really realize. Like we've both been meaning to do ham
for a while. I mean, we started talking about ham when we first started prepping. That was like 2008.
No, longer ago than that.
Oh God, it was before I went to.
It was like 2003, 2004 when we really started getting back into prep. And that was one of the first things that we said on our major list of things. Like these are skills and things we need to do.
Yeah. So how did guys like me and you let that one slide? We're obviously radio geeks because we're talking into microphones right now.
There's a weird thing. There's a weird thing about ham. I know a lot of people that acknowledge the fact, a lot of very serious preppers that acknowledge the fact that they need to get into ham. And there's 2 kinds of people that do it. There are either people who have always done ham, love ham, and they do it. And then there are the preppers like you and me who talk about for forever that, man, they need to get off their butt and get their ham license and never do it.
Yeah.
But we have set a goal. Within the next 2 months, we are going to actually
get it. Yeah.
The other thing to that is the Houston Area Ham Association I found to be very difficult. Two kinds of guys there.
Mhm.
Extremely helpful, or you might as well just piss off. And they're really bad about keeping their website up and everything. So I know every time I've sat down and said, okay, I'm going to do this ham thing, and then I go look for testing times, they're redoing their site. And then
so frustrating.
there's dates on there, but they're like from last year or something.
Mhm.
So it becomes really irritating. It's an all volunteer thing, so I get it. None of those guys are getting paid as
Right.
far as I know, so I get it. And therein lies the big problem in any kind of volunteer organization. There's usually, unless it's a really big organization, it's usually herding cats to get things done. So I get that. I do. I've been involved in a lot of volunteer stuff. It does become very much herding cats. But within the next 2 months, you and I are going to nail that.
Yes.
That whole.
We really need to finally.
Because without text messaging and phones, forget it.
Yeah.
Other than we have an understanding of who is where and who's going to show up where and all that, we have no way of communicating.
Got it.
And that is a huge hole in our preps. Not only for distance stuff, but also even just radios. Working, like if we were in a 1 mile radius, like working together as teams or something like that. Like we have no way of communicating.
None.
We kind of do, but they're not exactly. We actually do have a pile of radios somewhere that I'm not going to talk about on air, but they're not meant for that purpose. They have decent distance, as I tested out one day, but they're also not secure. Not that necessarily ham is secure, but there's some things that could be done.
Right.
There's nothing that could be done with those radios. Everything would be in the clean set. Anyway, but that was a hole that we both really, especially after reading 299 Days and thinking about that. And I think he even talked about that was one of the things that he realized, like that, binoculars and something, which we talked about binoculars recently.
Mm-hmm. That book has really sunk home a lot of likely scenarios, what's going on in the world. He did his homework when he was actually writing that book.
Yeah, definitely.
And it opened my eyes to a lot of stuff that I needed to kind of reevaluate. And I mean, come on, as preppers, when we first started prepping, we had completely different ideas of what we were prepping for or what was going to happen and what all we, actually needed and so on and so forth. And we've evolved so much over the years. That book just kind of sunk that home. You occasionally need to go back and kind of reevaluate your stuff, your lists, and what you've got covered and what you don't, and what's important and what's not.
I would 100% agree with that. That is one of the reasons I like reading prepper fiction.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
much.
I hate you for getting me into that.
Well, I'll admit, I have a love-hate relationship with it. As you and I were both joking with Glenn, and we'll bring it up again here, that I put Post-it notes on my laptop, on my iMac, on everything saying, and it just says, do you really need that?
Right.
And I know that because I'll be reading or I'll be listening to a book, like all of Glenn's books, I listened to them all through audio. I didn't read them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's especially bad with audiobooks because you don't have the book in front of you. You're not glued to it. I find this, I even do this with books I'm reading, but with audiobooks, it's particularly bad because with audiobooks, you can be doing other stuff.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'll find myself looking at that shiny new ballistic helmet or that new plate carrier and armor plates or maybe I do need another couple thousand rounds of this. And all of a sudden you find yourself on there and you're like, got the credit card out. Then you're like, no, I don't really need that.
I fought the whole kit thing forever.
I still fight Kit.
Man.
I still fight Kit. I think
just the book.
Yeah.
The book kind of brings back.
It does. Yeah. And like I said, I have a love-hate relationship with prepper fiction because every time I'm reading it, and I've gotten really big into audiobooks lately, it does make you stop and think, oh, you know what? That's a great point. I forgot about this, or I forgot about that, or, ooh, that's a cool piece of gear I've never thought of before. Like there was in 299 Days, there was a very brief mention of, I think it's called, the product name itself is the Quiet Pro, and I think it's Nakir, something NACRE or something like that, Quiet Pro, and it's actually a radio, really cool. It looks really cool. I don't have one, but everybody's reviews of it, because of course I went and read all the reviews about it. But it's an attachment for your radio and it also acts as hearing protection. So you,
Oh,
and
nice.
it those like really crazy electronic hearing protection. Like I think Surefire has one, and they're like $400 or $500 or something like that. And they're earplugs that they don't tamp down the sound; they level the sound, so all sound stays at about. So if you have big explosions or gunfire or something like going off behind you, it doesn't shut off all sound like some of the hearing protection does do. It brings it. If you're an audio geek, it's a brick wall limiter, which we were talking about a little bit before the show, and now you know what a brick wall limiter is. It makes it will not allow audio to go above a certain level, and it also has like push to talk, but also voice control on the thing, and it allows you to touch the radio, and then you're not touching and fiddling with the radio, and you've solved two problems in one. Anyway, I went on for too long about that, but the point was, it was an opportunity to go, oh wow, I didn't know about that. That's really cool. I really would like hearing protection, and I'm already now wound up about the fact that we don't have comms. That is a cool solution, and that's what I like often about getting into prepper fiction. The downside, of course, is it makes you want to buy a bunch of crap. But I mean, even going through Mobile Scout, like, and I've tried really hard over the years to be very careful, because when you're talking about kit, plate carriers, helmets, all that stuff, it gets very expensive very quick.
Very expensive? Oh my God. I was shocked when I saw the price.
It would be very, very easy to go dump $3-4 grand.
Oh, easy.
On kit.
Which is mind-boggling to me, but wow. I mean, I see it.
Yeah, and the issue is, it's like you're talking about gear that really is life-dependent gear.
Yes.
So it's like, yeah, don't go cheap on it.
Right.
Don't
Exactly.
go buy the Condor junky, junky stuff.
Exactly.
So you really do want the good plate carriers and good helmets and stuff like that. And that stuff's not cheap, and understandably so.
Well, yeah, if you're relying on it to save your life, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
You might not want to skimp on that one.
Yeah. Exactly.
Or even, just carrying stuff that will save your life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're trekking through the woods or whatever, and you've got all of your stuff stuck on you, do you want to rip it off, or, have something rip, or a strap break where you can't carry it?
Yeah.
Then what do you do?
Yeah.
Leave your stuff behind?
So that was a good wake-up call for you, though. Made you think about your preps, and it made you realize that you've been dipping into your preps and not replacing stuff.
Yes.
Things like that. I think we did a show, I think we called it Prepper Spring Cleaning or something. I don't remember what episode it was, but it was an old episode. And that was one of the things I try to do, is remember every spring to do a Prepper Spring Cleaning.
Yeah.
You probably do it at least twice a year, but it's literally one time a year where you just sit down and go through all your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I do that with all my bags now. Every spring I go through, dump them all out, and go through everything in it and say, what can actually leave this bag? What needs to be replaced in this bag? What piece of gear have I acquired that I think is a better piece of gear that I don't carry every day, that actually should go in this bag to replace something else? A point of that would be a multi-tool.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the SOG multi-tool. I bought one years and years ago. I don't like the fit and finish. I find them very uncomfortable in the hand. A lot of hot spots, rub blisters real bad. After doing a spring cleaning one time, I really hate this multi-tool. So I went and got an extra Leatherman Wave, replaced it in the bag. But then during the same time, I realized there was no multi-tool in my car bag. Now, that car bag is not something I ever use. It's separate from my EDT bag. It's a bag that lives under the back, the crew seat in my pickup truck.
Mm-hmm.
And I only go through that bag. I've never had an occasion to need it for anything, thankfully. So the only time I ever open it and use it and fiddle with it and go through it is when I'm doing the spring cleaning.
Right.
And at that same time, I realized, there's no multi-tool in here. Well, I have this extra multi-tool now that, while not ideal, and that bag now is essentially complete with that multi-tool. Plus, I have a multi-tool that I carry in my EDC bag every day. That is another Leatherman. And that one I use constantly.
I've actually worn my multi-tool out.
Have you really?
Yeah,
That's impressive.
Yeah. The screws, or like the Phillips head, is worn out. It's starting. The whole pliers are starting to get a little loose.
Really?
Crank on it pretty hard. Now it's not a Leatherman. And it might have something to do with it. And it's the small mini one.
Okay.
So it's not as big and robust as the big Leatherman is.
Okay.
But I use it constantly. So I mean, it kind of emphasizes the point of, if you got it on you, you're going to use it.
Mm-hmm.
well, go for quality, not necessarily cheapness. It was a really nice, small little multi-tool.
Was it the Gerber or something?
Yeah, more than likely, majority of my stuff that I have just thrown in my bags is Gerber stuff.
Oh, okay.
So I'm thinking it's the Gerber Mini something or another, or whatever it is.
Yeah. The Leatherman might. I do find that the Leatherman is. Gerber's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I do find the Leathermans are much nicer and probably a little more robust. But I would imagine those wear out after a while too.
Yeah, I need to come up with a kind of an EDC carry kind of solution for. I want to start carrying an extra mag.
Mm-hmm.
I want to start carrying a real multi-tool because I'm actually kind of using that kind of stuff quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And just figure out what all I can actually fit on my body where I can do like an EDC, like just carry on my body. I just on my belt, put it on an everyday basis.
Yeah.
Here in Houston, it's kind of tough because during the summertime, it gets a little hot and you're down to like shorts and t-shirt. Yeah,
that does get very difficult. And that was, which we'll come to this pack in a little while, which is why the pack that you said was so ugly that we'll come to in a little while. But for me, that was just it. I kept paring back and trying to make that EDC bag smaller and smaller because it's not just hot here, it's humid. And humid makes everything freaking miserable. It makes straps rub on you the wrong way. It makes everything just miserable.
Yeah, wet straps, even when it's dry and kind of cool, they're perfectly fine and comfortable. But all of a sudden you put in just a little bit of sweat, a little bit of heat, and you get that rubbing going back and forth.
Oh, it's miserable.
Oh, God.
It is so miserable. But I've pared it back and we may, I think we do have plans to do a video for bags, but even awesome. You and I'll just in private, we'll sit down and I don't think I've actually showed you what all's in my EDC bag because it's actually not that much because I've pared it back.
That video will be us building my bag.
Yeah. Well, that's what I meant with it.
I've actually set money aside because I don't really carry a bag. I've always had everything in my car.
Yeah, you used to carry a bag, but it was so loaded down with like case files and stuff like that.
I mean, I had everything in that bag. I mean, that thing probably weighed a good 40 pounds.
Oh, easy. Because it was all paper. And paper's heavy.
Yeah. You throw in a laptop in there and
you had that giant laptop.
I love my giant brick, man. But those are my workhorse, man. I could beat the hell out of it and keep on going. Anyways, that bag was it was ridiculous. I mean, it fully loaded down, and I had pared back way back on it. Fully loaded down, man, it was a good 40 pounds. And this is like a bag I was walking, going into meetings with and just hauling around, from the appraisal district back to the office. Mm-hmm. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. That's a lot easier because I don't have to carry. So I carry one of the MacBook Airs. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's super light, super thin laptop. I carry some very basic medical stuff in my bag. What else do I carry in there? I carry 2 extra magazines, and then I carry a multi-tool and my pick set, which I am always very cognizant of where I am with that pick set. And then what else do I have in there? Fire stuff and a bunch of computer cables and one of those Mophie batteries for charging my phone.
Got it.
In case I'm in a situation where I have no access to an outlet or a cigarette lighter. And then I keep extra cigarette lighter adapter and stuff in there. So I can always keep my phone charged. And then, extra credit card, debit card, and extra cash, a little bit. So it's a pretty compact bag. There's not a lot in it. It's pretty lightweight. So, but that's the other thing too, is that weight does add up very fast, especially when you're talking about magazines and a multi-tool. So that was my big thing. I spent a bunch of time trying to pare that bag back. And so the first thing I did was say, I'm going to buy a very small bag so that I can force myself to really pick and choose what I'm dragging around. Because the bag I carried around every day was just too heavy. Mm-hmm. It was just dumb. So, and then the other way I supplement that is I have a dedicated bag that does not, for any reason, leave my truck. And that has all my supplemental gear in it that if I really did have to get home and, let's say, walk for a day,
loaded down, you ain't going very fast.
That's true. No, that bag even the truck bag is really light.
Oh, okay.
I pared that one down to bare minimum because it had to fit under the back seat and be out of sight. I will say the caveat is I take that pack out if I'm taking my truck. If my truck is going to be in the shop for more than a day, I take that pack out of the truck.
Okay. Good idea.
So anyway, what other things have you discovered recently since we're on the topic of rats chewing away at your preps? Have you found anything else lately? since you've now been thinking about it?
Ammo, since we've been shooting so much, I haven't been really paying attention to ammo stocks. And I really need to. My ammo closet, that's what I'll call it. My ammo gun closet is about the same kind of organization as my prepper pile of shit. I've got boxes of stuff. I've got empty boxes in there. I've got gun cases just kind of folded up, just thrown in the closet. It's bad, man. It really is.
So by comparison, mine is all neatly organized in ammo cans with labels on the ammo can.
Half of my stuff is still in the shipping box that it came in.
That's pretty bad, dude.
Yeah,
that's pretty bad. Yeah, I am anal retentive enough that I do actually own a label maker. I would have made somebody a really great wife. A great stay-at-home mom. The reason I have that is I used to have to do a lot of cabling, computer cabling and stuff like that, and enough network cabling at my family's business that I actually did have to label the cables.
Yeah, I get it.
So I have a label. And you have it, and then it's all of a sudden, these things are neat. I can make a label for the dog. Hello, dog, who's now in my lap. So, mistake saying hello to the dog.
I'm gonna have a Jason organize his prepper pile of shit party at my house, and I'll be like, okay, so I got a case of Shiner, a bottle of whiskey, and a couple cigars. How's that? Good?
So what you're saying is it's just a party. We're not even going to get anything done. We're going to get drunk and sit around and bullshit, which I'm cool with. That's fine with me. Then I don't actually have to do any work. And I see what's going on here. Bribe Aaron to come and label everything.
Like dropping off the Glock, be like, hey, man, do you got time to change out these sights? Little evil smile.
Mm-hmm. So I knew what you were doing, but at the same time, I did have that Glock sight pusher that I had not, because Trigicon sent me a pair of sights that didn't work. And I had to send them back, and I'm still waiting to get them back. So I needed an excuse to use that sight pusher, and wanted to see, particularly if those sights needed to be, the dovetail on it needed to be filed down or anything. It worked really well.
Yeah, it did. It really did. That kind of segues into I'm falling into your Glock trap. They're cheap. They're reliable. They're simple. They're just buy it and shut up.
Yeah, and it's, unless you're somebody that did spend years shooting a 1911. And I do understand 1911 guys. I do. You spend, and it's just like with you and I with rifles. Mm-hmm. You become so intimate with that rifle in a non-weird way that well, I don't know. Some of those 1911s are awfully pretty.
I just want to pet it.
I love 1911s, but I've never, every time I think about buying one, I quickly talk myself out of it because I'm not a 1911 guy, and I do know they're just pretty. They're just pretty. But I like, for those guys, I understand them sticking with it. Glocks in general, I wouldn't fault anybody, unless it was a Taurus. I wouldn't fault anybody for buying anything. Tauruses are just garbage. But
what do they have? The governor or the judge? Taurus?
Dumbest gun ever invented. No, except for the 223 pistol. And I don't mean the AR pistol. I mean an actual pistol that fires 223 cartridges, which I don't know if that was them or somebody else. Anyway, getting off track. Point being, that segues us into our 2014-2015 survival gear reviews, which we'll pick back up in episode 124, February 2nd. And again, to wrap up and to recap our announcements from the beginning of the show, go to intherabbithole.com/ebook to get your free copy of Owning Your Survival and stay in touch with us. This is your countdown to the season 4 finale. The show will be going on break April 27th, but we will return August 3rd for season 5. Thank you for joining us today from Houston, Texas. Till next time, stay safe and sound.